Hey there, happy New Year's Eve. This is Frugal Days with Danina. If you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. I hope you've had a wonderful month. I hope Christmas was good to you and you got to spend time with people you love or doing things that you love. I had a wonderful Christmas with my family, with David, with friends. It was a wonderful holiday. It's been a great month, but I don't know where the time has gone. I realized I posted no videos in December. It just seemed like time was flying by with everything I had going on. But I've been thinking ahead to the next year. I always spend December not just looking ahead to January, to what the next month will bring, but actually looking ahead to what the new year is going to bring, and trying to do some big picture scenarios in my mind and in my planning book for what 2026 is going to look like financially and otherwise. I don't really set resolutions. I do goals. I would much rather have goals for 2026. I like to look back on the year that's finishing and see what went well. What do I want to continue doing? What didn't go well? What should I change? Are there new things I should add this year? So I spend a lot of time in December thinking about those kinds of things and gathering my thoughts and writing them down. And I wanted to share some of that with you today. Every month, about the last week or so of the month, I look ahead to the next month's finances. I look ahead to see what the next budget should bring. Are there going to be new expenses? Are there going to be things popping up that I didn't have the previous month that I need to plan for? But in December, I do that sort of for the whole year. For instance, I know that in 2026, at some point, I'm going to need to put tires on my car. So I'm planning for that. I know that sometime in 2026, before I go camping, I am going to need to put new house batteries in my motorhome. I have a Class C motorhome, and it has 2 batteries for the engine, and it has 2 batteries for the house part, the part that you stay in when you camp. Those are going to need to be replaced this year, so I need to have a financial plan to replace those batteries. There are things, however, that always pop up that I can't plan for. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I had to replace my car battery a couple of months ago. It was fine, I thought, then all of a sudden it wasn't fine and my car wouldn't start. Luckily, it was within the 3-year warranty, so I only had to pay the deductible, which was $25, not a problem. Had I had to replace the entire battery, I might have had to pull money out of my emergency fund because that would be an emergency. I do keep an emergency fund for things like that I simply can't predict and I can't plan for. Another thing that happened last year that did cost me out of pocket was my teeth. I had a crown. I have several crowns currently, and one of those crowns broke. Nothing I could do about it. I couldn't plan for it. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I have dental insurance. I just assumed, I would pay my deductible and that would be it. Wrong. Because that crown had not been in my mouth for a minimum of 84 months, my insurance would not pay any of it. They only allow me to have a crown on a tooth for more than 84 months before they will replace it or pay their part. So I had to pay for that 100% out of pocket. So all together, for that and the other dental work I had to have done, I had about $1,200, about $1,200 in dental expenses in 2025 over the course of the year that I did not plan on, that I had to take out of my emergency fund. So thank goodness I had that. I put money every month in my emergency fund, and that's the kind of things it is for. It's not for vacations, it's not for holidays, it's not for birthday, it's not for splurges. It's for things that come up like my health, my teeth, my eyes. I have horrible vision. I have to have glasses or contacts. My car, I live in a rural area. There is not public transportation. I have to have my car. So those kind of things that if something comes up that's not a planned expense, I have an emergency fund that hopefully is enough to cover it. I know that things are getting more and more expensive all the time, and it's getting harder and harder to know exactly how much do I need in that emergency fund. But thankfully, for my dental work and for the battery situation, it was not a big deal. I was able to cover it and then start, resaving from what I spent for my teeth. So as I look on to the next year, as I said, I know I've got a couple of significant expenses coming up, the tires, the batteries for my camper. I'm not planning any giant yard projects for this year. I spent quite a bit on my yard last year. I love to garden. This year I'm going to try to maintain and redo. I've got some areas that have been there for a while. I've been in the spot where I live now for 5 years. And some of the things I began that first year need a little redoing. So I'm going to try to spend my time and resources redoing what I have, upgrading what I have, making sure everything's in good order what I have with what I have. The only things I really have to redo every year, of course, mulch, things like that I need to redo. I've got a few plants that didn't make it that will need to be replaced, that sort of stuff. So I have a budget. I have a sinking fund for my yard, and I save specifically for those things. Normally, I try to do one big project a year. I'm not going to do that this year. I'm just going to do maintenance and replacement instead of another big project. So I'm not saving towards a big project. I'm just saving this year towards that maintenance plan for my yard. All right, I want to kind of go through my top, I've written them down so I wouldn't forget, my top 6 things that I've thought of so far for my goals for 2026. This is not a list that's unchangeable. It's not written in stone. I can change this as I go along. I can add to it. I can say, oops, that's not going to happen because something unforeseen came up. But this is where I want to head in the next 12 months, financially and otherwise. Not all of these goals are financial. My channel is about frugality, but it's also about daily life stuff, simple life stuff, slow living, how to make the most of what you've got, how to live abundantly on little. So I'm going to start with my very first goal, and that is my walking goal. If you have watched me before, you know that walking is a big part of my daily routine. And I'll just be honest with you, from Thanksgiving to December, my walking has been sporadic. I have not been diligent as I should. I'm going to get right back on that path starting today. I'm starting back with my daily walks today. I've kind of just fit them in here and there during the month of December. And now it's time to get back on track. So I'm going to set a yearly miles goal, not just a daily steps goal. Last year, I had the goal of 8,000 steps, and then I modified it later in the year and said, I really think I want to boost it up to 10 to 12. And I did pretty well with that up until Thanksgiving. And then, like I said, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I kind of let it slip because there was a lot of fun stuff happening. But I want to get back on that goal again, that 10 to 12,000 steps goal, but I want to add something more to it. I want it to also be a yearly goal. And I would like to set the goal of 2 miles per day. Now, that would be 730 miles for the year. I know, realistically, my life is not going to allow me to do 2 miles every single day. There's going to be days when I can't. There's going to be weather. There's going to be things I have to do with my dad, appointments that have to be managed, those kind of things. So some days there will be less than 2 miles. Other days there'll be more than 2 miles. Some days there'll be significant more than 2 miles. But overall, I'm going to track it, and I want to be in the range of 730 miles by this day in 2026. So we'll see. That's my goal. That's what I'm shooting for. As I've mentioned before in other videos too, yes, this is a channel about frugality, but I feel like trying to maintain my health the best I can is one way to be frugal. I'm basically a pretty healthy person, and I want to keep it that way for as long as I can. I'm 56 years old. My birthday is in June, so I've hit the halfway point towards 57, and I want to stay as healthy as I can for as long as I can, and I feel like in the long run, that's a frugal thing to do. Walking is a big part of that. It makes me feel better. It keeps me healthier. It keeps me mobile. It lets me have more energy and be able to do the things I want to do. So that is my walking goal for the year, as well as my daily goal sticking at 10 to 12,000 steps per day. The second thing that I want to work on is I want to find more small ways to save money. I've talked about a few of those ways before on different videos. Things like shop sales or use what you have and use up what you have before you replace it. And things like I save my $1 bills and my change. I don't spend $1 bills and I don't spend my change, and that adds up quicker than you'd think to be a significant way that you can save money. One way that I'm not sure I've talked about before, but I will talk about now, is I use the Fetch app. The Fetch app is just a receipt scanning app. You can scan any receipt from anywhere, and it converts it to points, and those points convert to gift cards. Well, this year my goal, for most of the year, I think I used one of those gift cards. That's how I treat myself, to Starbucks. I enjoy Starbucks, but I don't want to pay for it. So once in a while, I'll treat myself with my Fetch points to a Starbucks gift card. And I did that early in the year, but then the rest of the year, I was saving my points to buy gift cards that I would use myself to do stocking stuffers. I do stocking stuffers for my kids, for their spouses, for my grandkids, and for David. And I wanted to buy those stocking stuffers with those points. And for the most part, I did. I may have spent a little bit out of my own pocket, but it was nothing compared to the total, and most of the total came from those gift cards. So I actually didn't have to have a sinking fund for stocking stuffers because my Fetch app was kind of my sinking fund this year. So I want to find other small ways like that I can save. I'm going to look into some other apps that you can convert receipts to money, to gift cards or actual money. If you use any or know of any, list them in the comments. That would be a big help to me, and anyone else who's listening might be interested as well. And then I always am looking at my budget every month, as I said, and trying to shave points, or trying to shave money off if I can. Of different things. For instance, this month I realized I was paying for some things on my phone bill that I didn't need and didn't want. So I called and canceled those things, and that saved me almost $40, between $38 and $40 a month. So all during the next year, I'll have $38 to $40 more than I had this past year because I hadn't been diligent in looking at my cell phone bill to see what all I was paying for and if I wanted all of those charges. So I'm going to continue to do that like I did in 2025, and then continue to look for new ways that I might save a little here and a little there, because it really does add up. The next thing I want to talk about is I'm going to read more. Reading is one of my favorite hobbies, and I seem to go through seasons with that during the year. There are times of the year when I just read, and then I kind of slack off from it. And probably springtime, when I'm really getting busy in the yard and working, that's probably when my reading slacks the most. And I might pick up a little more listening to audiobooks, because I just plug in my earphones, my earbuds, and listen to books while I am working in the yard. I listen to a book every day when I do my walk, but I also like to read books with my eyeballs. I listen to Allie on This Little Wonderful Life, and that's what she says. Books that I read with my eyeballs, books that I listen to. So I want to increase the books that I'm reading with my eyeballs. I know I will increase my audiobooks when I'm doing yard work, but I really want to set my goal for 2 books a month for the 2026 year, for all 12 months. So that's the goal I've set for myself. 2 books that I read with my eyeballs per month, on top of whatever I'm listening to with Audible. I also am going to set a goal to start an old-fashioned recipe box for myself. I use a lot of recipes online that I go find online, or I see online, and I save and go back and use. But they have gotten so frustrating. I don't know if you ever go online and find recipes, but it just seems like they're pushing more and more junk in there, advertisements, ads, other story clips that they put in the middle of it, and it'll say jump to recipe, and I do, but then it goes back again. It's just so frustrating. So when I do find a recipe online that I like, I want to take the time to put it on an old-fashioned recipe card and put it in a recipe box, just like our grandmas did. That way, when I want to repeat that recipe again, I don't have to go through all that the second time. I can just get out my recipe box, get out that recipe card, and there it is, right at my hands while I'm gathering ingredients and putting them together and cooking or baking or whatever. So I want to have, by the end of 2026, I want to have started a really nice old-fashioned recipe box to use in my kitchen. I'm also going to make a conscious effort to spend more time with my sisters. My family is pretty large in respect to nieces and nephews, that sort of thing. I don't have any grandparents left. I had lots of grandparents and grandparent time as I was growing up, but I've lost all of those grandparents now. I only have one aunt and one uncle that are left with us, and I see them pretty frequently. I spend as much time as I can with my kids and grandkids, but I have two sisters, and we are very close as far as talking. We do a sister text pretty much every day to try and keep up with each other, but I want to do more face-to-face with them in the year 2026. I want to try to make that a priority and see if they will too. I know we're all busy with our own families and our own activities and things, and I'm retired. I'm an early retired teacher, and they're not, so I understand that, but I would love for us to make more time to see each other. I'm 56 and I have a 52-year-old sister and a 48-year-old sister, and I don't know if it's because this month there have been several people that I know, not close friends, but that I know or who are family members of close friends who have passed away. And it's just kind of made me think we need to prioritize that more. Talking is great on the phone, texting is great. It keeps us in contact with each other and up to date on each other, but I really treasure our time we spend together, and I would like to have a little bit more of that in the new year. So I'm going to try and work that out so that we can. And last, I am going to do a household inventory during the month of January. I watch a lot of frugal channels on YouTube, and most of them that I watch on the regular always encourage us to do a food inventory, to do a freezer inventory, a pantry inventory. And I do not have a written inventory. I live alone. I have a small freezer, but I think I should. So I am going to do a written inventory so that I know what meals I already have, because I tend to batch cook, or when I'm with David, he batch cooks and sends stuff home with me and I eat it. And then if I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to eat it all before it goes bad, then I use my food saver and freeze it. We had a lot of leftovers at Christmas at my house and at David's, and so I have frozen some of that. So I have a lot of ready-made meals, homemade ready-made meals in my freezer right now. So I'm going to do an inventory and an inventory of my pantry and try to make sure I know what I have on hand, so I'm not doing any extra buying, unless, of course, if I run across a great deal, then I'll pick up an extra one to put away. But I tend to do that all year long. That's not just something I would do right now or at a certain time of year. Things seem to go in cycles on when they're on sale, and I know what I will eat. So if it's something I absolutely know I'm going to use in the time before it goes bad, then I will pick up an extra one at that time and put it away. I know that Frugal Queen of France that I watch regularly, she always says that when she's doing her inventory in the kitchen, 2 items equals 1. So if she has 2 bottles of ketchup, she counts that as 1, knowing she wants 1 more on the shelf. Or if she has 1, she counts that as none, meaning if we're on our last one and it's something we use all the time, I'm going to pick up another one because I want to have that put away, especially if I catch something like that on sale. So I'm going to do that in the kitchen, but I'm going to do it in other areas of my house as well. I noticed that the cleaning area under my sink, where I keep my supplies, it just becomes a disaster area. I straighten it all out, it becomes a disaster area. I straighten it all out, it becomes a disaster area. So I'm going to take an inventory so that even if it's one of those times where it's not at its neatest, the shelves that I have under there, I know what's in there, and I know if I need to pick something else up before I run out for cleaning. And I'm going to do the same in my bathroom for bathroom supplies. shampoo, soap, cleansers, different things that I use, toothpaste, toothbrushes. I keep extra toothbrushes on hand, floss, those type of things. I'm going to take an inventory. And if I have a written inventory that I can keep, then I know, uh-oh, this was my last floss. I don't want to run out, so I will pick one up the next time that I shop. So I'm going to try to do an inventory over not just food, but toiletries, cat items, because I have 3 cats. I regularly use litter and their 2 kinds of food. Make sure I have a good stock of those. Those don't typically go on sale, but should they, then I would definitely stock up. But toiletries do, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye out when there's sales for those things, and then I'll know from my list, how many shampoos do I have? How many soaps do I have? Do I have extra toothbrushes on hand? Do I have extra floss? All of those type of things. And know that I have everything I need without running out and have to, run out and buy it when maybe it's not at its cheapest or at a store where I don't get the best price. I live in a small town, so I tend to only use our local grocery store for fresh items or the items I run out of. A big shop, I usually have to go further away to do a big shop. So those are my 6 goals for 2026 so far. Like I said, that may not stay the same. I may think of some other things that I want to add to that I feel like I need to add to it. Or I may go a little deeper into it, like last year when I changed my steps per day. Or I may find out that this is just not a workable plan for me and I need to change it in a different way. My goals for the year are like my budget. I look at them often. I see how I'm doing with them. I see if I need to make changes with them. If you haven't subscribed, I would encourage you to do so. YouTube is free. You can learn almost anything you need to know on YouTube. I am a newly retired teacher. I say newly. How about early retired teacher? This is my 2nd year of retirement, and I am enjoying every minute of it. No regrets on doing early retirement. And I hope you will join us again, that you will hit subscribe, that you will hit the like, and please leave comments down below if you can add any other goals that you might be setting for the new year. Thank you. Have a wonderful new year, and I hope you are setting goals for 2026.